like this, but Bach also did this, meaning that that middle line would be the F, which is exactly the same as the tenor clef. Wait. F, A, C. Sorry. That would be the same as this. So these older clefs, they get fairly confusing. If you go on to study a master's or a doctorate, if you want to study accompaniment, or accompaniment on piano, or you want to study choral music, you have to learn these clefs because they will dig out the old scores. And you have to be able to take a modern publication and dig out the original Bach and find out what has been edited in, so you can do it your way, do it more like you think Bach might have done. So when you go to an orchestra concert or something and they're doing Bach, the conductor's probably dug up the real Bach score and looked at it and decided exactly what's been edited in so he could tell the orchestra how he or she would like it to be played. So when I was in Texas, I told you I was in the symphony chorus. But being a band director at the time and writing a lot of music, somehow the choral director, the symphony choral director found out. And he hired me. He had gone through these scores and found out that all of the violin bowings, he wanted them all different. So he hired me for a whole weekend to sit there and draw in violin bowings the way he wanted them. Just pencil them into the score. And I got paid as much as Plummer would get. It was wonderful. I mean, because he had to get somebody who knew how to read music and knew what a slur looked like and could be legible, and knew the difference between a number 2 pencil that you could read and a number 1 that you couldn't. But it was interesting because he hired me and he paid me a lot of money, and then I was like, gee, at the time I was young and stupid, so it sounded like too much money. And he said, who am I going to get to do this? Can I just hire somebody off the street who knows what a violin bowing is, who knows how to like down bow and up bow? So I go, oh, well, okay. Have pride that you've studied so much that you know all this. But anyway, this is what it originally looked like. So let's take a look at it. First, the odd one, the soprano clef. So if the bottom line is C, we got 2 flats in the key signature. Well, let's look at the bass clef and cheat to figure out what key we're in, because we can read bass clef easier than the other 3. So what key are we in? Look at the bass clef. There's the bass line. Look where it starts and ends. What key are we in?
B flat.
B flat. All right, so that understood that we're in B flat. We go back to the soprano clef. Bottom line is a C. So what note are we starting with?
F. E.
F, yeah. So, and that would be so. And then the next note,
D.
no, B flat.
No.
I'm sorry, the soprano, the second note of the soprano.
Oh,
B flat.
I got so confused.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too.
I was looking at the flats, and I was like, well, there's a lower flat and a higher flat. No, that doesn't work.
Lower flat.
Well, I was looking to see, B flat. I was
Right.
thinking, well, that would be the B flat. No, that's the B flat, and
Right.
that's the E
Yeah,
flat.
the upper one's the B flat.
Okay.
I know it looks very confusing. Now, if you're singing, you have an advantage to playing an instrument, because the instrument, if I'm trying to play this on flute, I have to know that first note's an F and the second one's a B flat, third one's a C, fourth one's a D. But if I'm singing, it's really relative to where I am. So for example, even though we're in B flat, this is a rather confusing clef. So if I put my thumb over the clef in the key signature, and I imagine a treble clef, how would you solfege it in the key of D?
So, do,
So,
re,
do,
mi, fa,
yeah.
sol.
So,
No. The key of what?
D, in treble clef.
Do.
Then it would be an A to a D for the first 2 notes, which would be so, do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi. So that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Except, of course, we want to start on an F. and sing F to B flat. But the advantage of me making you learn the movable do and all these different keys is that now you could use that, as long as we know the first two notes are F to a B flat. So, do. Now, I cover it up and I imagine the key of D and I say, so, do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi. So now those notes are actually coming out. It's actually F, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, E flat, D. That's what's coming out. But I'm using the relativity of the movable do to help me. Or if you're a bass clef player, you like bass clef, what key signature would you imagine if you're imagining a bass clef here?
F.
F. So then it would be a C to an F, which would still be so, do. You have different regions. Does everybody understand what we're doing?
I see, yeah, now I do.
No?
Yeah. I do.
You do understand? Okay. So it's the relativity of so, do.
Did they do it this way so they didn't have to do ledger lines? Is that, or, I mean, why did they use all these?
Actually, remember that Bach was a lot closer to the Renaissance than we are. So a lot of this is a holdout. And the Renaissance, a lot of that was a holdout from medieval times. So in medieval times, they had Gregorian chant. That was 4-line, 3-space step. And it was only 4 lines because that was the human voice range. It wasn't until instruments came in they really needed another one. So yes, in Gregorian chant, you had 2 clefs. One that indicated there was a C, and it just looked like this. And one that indicated an F, and it something like a dot or something. So one would indicate a C and one would indicate an F for that. But you could move this. You could go like this or like this. So somehow the idea that makes sense because they'd say, well, here's the range of our song. So okay, let's put the C here. And then the range automatically goes to that particular range. So then when the Renaissance came, they picked that up. And then when the Baroque came, remember that people like Bach, who were Baroque, when they were young, they studied Renaissance music. That's where they learned from, pretty much. So Bach's counterpoint all came from Renaissance imitative counterpoint, which is just imitating the shape of a melody on another page. And Bach really made it tonal. So, yeah, they got it from the fact that, well, that and also, I think I talked to you about this, there was no A equal 440 in Bach's day. So that meant the organ at this church might be tuned differently than the organ at another church. So it was very difficult to get a standard. You could, like, let's say Bach might have a standard, like a reed or something he used to tune all the organs, but that was him. So then when he traveled to Luxembourg or something, then whoever tuned the organs there, they might have a different standard. And so Bach would write something for organ and then include flutes or violins or whatever. And then when they went to another church to play it, all of a sudden everything's a half step off. So the movable clefs worked really well for that because you just take that clef and in your mind you just move it down and just imagine a different key signature and you're set to go. So it does, but I do know a trumpet player that I went to school with in college who learned the movable clef so that he could transpose all the trumpet stuff. Because there's trumpet in E flat, trumpet in F, trumpet in G, trumpet in B flat. And he told me it really works. You just imagine that movable clef and you're in another key. You don't have to transpose it, just read it. He liked it. He became a band director in San Antonio. He retired a year ago and had a band called Band.
What band called?
Band Hall, a rehearsal band. And you have a great day.